Now that Steven Spielberg won a Golden Globe for The Fablemans for Best Director, I decided to talk about a more different movie. A movie that is known from most movie reviewers, movie critics, for it being his worst movie. Always. To me, always, it's not a bad movie at all. The funniest thing, and I know a lot of people, Empire of the Sun is my favorite. Always was. That's the one I grew up on watching. It's the best in my opinion. One of the best music by one of the best scores by John Williams. In my opinion, it's brilliance. Always to me is there was like right after he did Color Purple, there was kind of like the three movies, with the exception of Last Crusade, he was doing. If you take Last Crusade out, from because Last Crusade was in the middle of it, but you have Empire of the Sun, Always, and then Hook, and then until Jurassic Park, and then of course Schindler's List. He was back to, but Always to me is one of those movies that is, in my opinion, an overlooked gem. Granted, yeah, I understand. Really, really, Tim, the movie, which is a remake of a guy named Joe, and the pilot guy, and he dies, and you know, he's, um, Holly Hunter meets another guy, and Richard Dreyfuss is helping that guy, and then John Goodman's in it as the friend. There's something to it that is different than that. You have a really, this is like, in my opinion, Steven Spielberg is one of those guys that can do, he can do anything, but a lot of times it's the same Spielberg, and until he did until like he did, um, you have Schindler's List, but like there was a time where it was always these like blockbuster, films, E.T., um, Jaws, Indiana, Raiders of the Lost Ark. These adventure films, these like fun, science fiction adventure. You got a little horror in there with Jaws. You really, other than the romance with the romances in like Raiders, um, you didn't really have a like spot on dramedy with romance in it. It was very different, in my opinion, with Spielberg. With Spielberg, again, he can do anything, but there's certain, you could tell it's a Spielberg film, and he's always like doing these types of movies where it's not the same thing, and that's why I always defend 1941. It's different. I like when directors do different things. And that's why I transition on doing different things a lot, especially for this new year. To me, Always is a classic. It's one of the last, I think it's the second to last, next to Tango and Cash. This and Tango and Cash are both like the last movies released for the 1980s. And so you really have this great romance, in my opinion. And you have the sadness, you have her depression, you have his, what he's going through. And it's like, yeah, I understand then you have something like Ghost, but I don't know. There's something with Always I always enjoyed, and it's something if you want to like kind of check check this one out.